If you are not legally protected in your business, you are leaving money on the table. Hey, I get it. The legal side of business can feel intimidating, but the good news is it doesn't have to be. If you want to build your business on a strong foundation, and if you want to know that your rights are protected when the unexpected happens with a client or a customer, then it's time to get legally protected. This means no more using free contracts that you downloaded off of the internet. This means partnering with a law firm that actually believes in your vision and can help you achieve it. This means legally protecting your brand so that no one can steal your good ideas. There are a lot of ways to grow and scale, but if you want to grow a strong business, it's time to get legally protected. If you're listening and resonating with this, then my signature service, the Legal Upgrade, just might be perfect for you. The Legal Upgrade is a straightforward, structured process to give your business the legal protection that it needs to thrive. Click the link in the show notes and schedule a call with me today. Hello and welcome to the Legal Upgrade Podcast. I'm your host, licensed attorney Christian Hammond. This podcast breaks down the legal side of business to reveal key legal strategies that can help you take your business to the next level. Please note that none of the following is legal, tax, investment, financial, or medical advice. Without further ado, let's get into the show. Today, we're talking about something that I think is real for many business owners, which is feeling like you always hire the wrong business lawyer, or rather feeling like you've never hired a good business lawyer. So if you have worked with maybe a few different lawyers as a business owner and you feel like it's been a really meh experience each and every time, this episode is for you. And if you feel like you've worked with a few different business lawyers and it's always been meh, it's probably for one of these reasons. So the first reason is that you have been hiring generalists when you actually needed specialists. This is probably one of the top issues that I see with business owners. And I get it because it would be so great, or what a lot of people tell me is they just want one person. They just want one go-to person who can just take care of everything in their business. But unfortunately, the truth is that past a certain point in business, it's really not possible for one lawyer to do it all. Because past a certain point in business, the issues become a lot more specialized. And so I like to draw an analogy like, let's think about going to the doctor. For most medical issues, even medical issues that maybe aren't that serious, you are really looking and hoping to be referred to a specialist. If you injure yourself at the gym, you want to go to a physical therapist. If you have an ear infection, you want to go to the ENT. If you need new glasses, you want to see the ophthalmologist, right? So even for medical issues that aren't serious or life-threatening and are relatively routine, oftentimes you still want to be referred to a specialist. So this is something we understand when it comes to our health, but it's something that we don't apply when it comes to the health of our business. If you went in for surgery and you walked into the room, you laid down on the table, and the doctor walked in, and right before starting the surgery, the doctor said, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm actually not a surgeon. I'm a dermatologist. The closest thing I've ever done to surgery is a facial, but I'm sure it's going to be fine." You would get up, if you weren't already under anesthesia, and you would walk out the door. You would not allow them to perform that surgery because they're not a specialist. In the same way, lawyers have specialties. I'm the first one to admit that I am not good at everything. In fact, I'm really good at two things: trademark law and copyright law. The rest of it, I don't particularly do. So if you need to figure out how to structure your businesses in the most tax efficient way, I'm going to refer you to somebody else because I'm not a tax lawyer. If you are being investigated by the SEC, I'm going to refer you to somebody else because I'm not a securities lawyer. And so, the same ways that doctors have specialties, lawyers have specialties. And I think that part of the problem is that in the business world, we have this idea of business law. And I'm guilty of this too. I advertise myself as a business lawyer, but what really is business law? Business law is actually this incredibly broad, incredibly vast topic that no one person can really master because it's just too broad. And so, examples of business topics would be if you're looking to buy or sell a business, that's an area of law called mergers and acquisitions. If you are looking to acquire a building downtown, that's real estate law. If it's time to figure out how to structure benefit packages for your employees or even executive compensation for yourself, that's employment law or executive compensation law. If you're trying to figure out how to protect your ideas and make sure no one else can steal them and protect the branding of your company, that's intellectual property law. And so, in some ways, this idea of business law is a myth. What really is business law? It's this incredibly vast subject with so many different topics that, of course, no one person can really master them all. Now, I'm not trying to say that up to a certain point in business, a general business lawyer isn't a perfectly great option. So maybe just like with going to a doctor, up to a certain point, there are plenty of things that you are perfectly happy to go to your primary care provider for. But past a certain point in business, it's probably time to upgrade to a specialist, because when you start to need deep expertise, when the topics are starting to become much more complicated, then that is kind of past the point where a generalist can be truly helpful. And so if you have felt frustrated in your experiences hiring business attorneys and working with lawyers for your business, it might be because you were hiring generalists when you were actually dealing with a legal issue that required a specialist. So that is the first possible reason. The second possible reason is that you might have chosen a law firm that was wrong for your company's stage of growth. And so just like lawyers have specialties, law firms are typically optimized to help clients in a certain stage of business. Now, it doesn't mean that a law firm might not serve, everyone from startups to large multinational corporations, but it doesn't mean that every law firm is optimized to serve everyone at that level. And that's because at different stages of business, the priorities are just different. So when a business is first starting out, the priority is making money. And the legal priorities kind of revolve around creating a atmosphere where revenue can be generated and protecting you from things that would prevent revenue from being generated. So first starting out, legal priorities are things like getting contracts in place. Because if your business partner kicks you out of the business and leaves you with nothing, that impacts your ability to make revenue. Other early business priorities are probably setting up an LLC so that there is a container, a business entity for that revenue to go to. It's locking down the trademark so that you're not pouring money into building a brand just so that somebody else can steal it later. So those early business priorities are different from, further along the line when priorities become more about keeping people happy. So now you're trying to keep your employees happy so they don't leave. You're trying to keep your customers happy so they don't sue you. Those are different priorities. Now you're trying to figure out how to structure those employee benefits packages. Now you're trying to figure out, can I have my employees sign a non-compete so that they can't take my clients and go start their own thing? Can I do that? Is that legal? You're trying to figure out a different set of issues. Maybe now, you've protected your intellectual property, but now it's time to figure out how to monetize it, how to put it to work for you, how to make sure that you are taking advantage of that asset that you have. And then as you move even further along in business, something that becomes really important is compliance. Because when you're earlier in business, compliance always matters, to be clear. But when you're earlier in business, thanks to everyone who joined, when you're earlier in business, compliance is important, but you're less likely to see enforcement. You're less likely, generally speaking, there are exceptions, to see audits or government investigations. But as you move further along in business, and as you become more visible, and as you become more notable, which can happen actually pretty fast if you are in a niche industry especially, well then you become a much more realistic target for an audit or a government investigation. And so now, if you are a food company, you're thinking much more seriously about the FDA. If you are a blockchain or Web3 company, you're thinking very seriously about the SEC. If you are in the advertising space, you're probably thinking a lot more seriously about the FTC. So this alphabet soup of government agencies is always relevant, but becomes a lot more relevant the more your business grows, the more visible you become, the more successful you become, because the bigger and more successful you are, the more likely it is that you could see that enforcement action, that audit, that government investigation. All that is to say is that different stages of business mean different legal priorities. And that means that law firms or any law firm is typically optimized for a certain stage, or maybe a couple different stages, but probably not all of the stages. So if you've had frustration hiring lawyers for your business, it might be because that firm simply was not optimized for your stage of business that your company was at. A third reason that you might have felt frustration in the past working with business attorneys, I know this is going to be hard for my CEOs, but it might be because you were insisting on being the sole point of contact. And again, this I think can be a hard thing for CEOs because you're probably thinking, well, this is the legal side of my business. Shouldn't I be intimately involved in every single detail? Maybe if you are someone who thrives on details, but many CEOs do not thrive in the details. Many CEOs thrive in the vision. They thrive in the big picture, but they don't actually thrive in the details. And I think that there can be this misconception that done for you services means done without you services. And that's, I think, a huge misconception. Done for you means that, yes, the professional service provider, the lawyer in this case, is going to do the work. But especially when you're working with a lawyer, that lawyer needs your input, meaning your approvals, your decisions, data from your company, records from your company, know-how about your company. Depending on the legal issue that your company is dealing with, that lawyer might need a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of records. And so the question becomes, are you the best person to deliver that? Are you the best sole point of contact when working with a business lawyer for the legal issue that you are dealing with? And oftentimes the answer is no. And it can be better to have your operations person or your legal advisor or your chief of staff be that point of contact. Now, I realize that a challenge here is that to make that work, to delegate effectively in the first place, you have to have the right team in place. You might have a team in place, but maybe you don't trust them yet. That's its own separate issue, but maybe you don't trust them yet. Or maybe you have a team in place, but maybe they're part of the issue. Maybe the legal issue you're dealing with is an employment law issue. So these are not, things that are always true, or, there are different situations that can change the calculus. But the point is that working with a lawyer can actually require a good amount of time. And it can require a good amount of data, a good amount of information that needs to be exchanged. And so as the CEO, one thing to think about is, am I the best point of contact? Do I want to be looped into the day-to-day? Or would I rather have someone delegate to someone that I trust and then have them loop me in on the big decisions? Again, realizing that requires being able to delegate to someone that you trust. But I think the key there, and for those of you listening who maybe don't have a team in place, maybe you don't have that trusted chief of staff or chief of operations, I think that it's realizing that, again, done for you services does not mean done without you. And so if you've been going into it hiring lawyers thinking that, you're kind of hiring this person who's going to be in their office somewhere else, and a few weeks later they're just going to hand you a finished product with no participation from you, you've probably been disappointed. You've probably been frustrated. You've probably been like, man, why does this person keep emailing me? Why do they keep calling me? Why do they keep asking me for all this information? It's because they need that information from you. And it's because lawyers are actually required to get those decisions and approvals from their clients. And so setting aside that time and budgeting that time to do that back and forth is an important part of hiring that lawyer and working effectively with them. And then the last point or the last reason that maybe you felt frustrated and felt like, man, I can just never get the right person in here, or I've just never worked with a good attorney. The last reason might be simply because it was just the wrong fit. And I think something underappreciated is that fit is important when it comes to working with legal counsel. I am not everyone's cup of tea. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that is okay. What's important is finding that business lawyer who is the right fit for your company. And I think that this kind of ties into the last point. Working with an attorney, especially depending on what kind of issue your business is dealing with, it can mean spending a lot of time with that person. And so just like in any other human interaction, it's really important that you are able to communicate effectively with that person, because potentially you might be communicating a lot. There might be a lot of back and forth. And that goes back to fit. Fit is important because you need to be able to communicate effectively with that person. Another thing that I think is underappreciated is that if you stay in business long enough, that lawyer will you will eventually need to work with a lawyer on something emotionally difficult in your business. This could be, hey guys, thanks for joining. This could be a business mistake that you made that has huge ramifications for your company. Maybe it results in you needing to lay people off. Maybe it results in a really difficult quarter or several difficult quarters. It could be a painful situation you're going through with your business partner. It could be a situation in your personal life that has started to affect your business life in a way that's causing some legal issues. So if you stay in business long enough, you will eventually need that lawyer to help you through something emotionally difficult. And so the question is this that the person that you want to be with on that ride? And I think that's really underappreciated, that when it comes to a lawyer or any professional service provider, fit actually does matter. It matters just as much with an outsourced provider as it does with a full-time employee that you're going to be working in the office with every day. And so if you have felt like, I have just never worked been able to get a good lawyer for my business. Every time I've tried to involve an outside counsel in my business, it's just been meh, it just wasn't great. It may be because fit, whether you two were a good fit was not adequately taken into consideration. So I hope that this has been helpful for you guys today. I hope this has kind of pulled back the curtain on how some things work underneath the hood and how the legal field works underneath the hood. And I hope that it's given you some epiphanies or some light bulb moments, some understanding maybe around previous experiences you've had. And most of all, I hope that it helps you move forward in your business and be able to partner next with someone who is going to be the perfect fit for your company. So thank you so much to those of you who joined in and who said hi. Thanks for being here today. And I will catch you guys next time. Thanks. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. The Legal Upgrade Podcast is a Bevel Law production. For more information about the Legal Upgrade, you can follow on Instagram at Bevel Law or find even more information on the website bevellaw.com. If you enjoyed the episode, please remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. See you next time on the Legal Upgrade Podcast.